The Lightning are hot. They haven't lost at home since February 4th, so now the trade deadline rumors are circling like sharks around chum. Plus, Nikita Kucherov imposes himself on the Art Ross race. We'll talk a whole lot of Lightning on Locked On Lightning.
You're Locked On Lightning, your daily podcast on the Tampa Bay Lightning, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone. I'm Josh Sperber, welcoming all of you to another episode of Locked On Lightning and giving you a big thank you for making Locked On Lightning your first listen every day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And if your team is the Tampa Bay Lightning, then this is the show for you. And first things first, let's talk about the victory. A 6-2 win over the Columbus Blue Jackets, 72 combined shots and 66 faceoffs taken. It was the Tampa Bay Lightning who came out on top after a tough loss in Sunrise. They went home and took down the Columbus Blue Jackets by a 6-2 margin, including the third fastest pair of goals scored to start the game in franchise history. First two goals of the game scored by Mitchell Chaffee and Nikita Kucherov in a minute 37. The fastest two goals to start the game since February 2001 and third fastest in franchise history. And this is the Lightning doing their thing and getting off to a hot start. They're a team that is very offensive minded. So the first thing they do is just attack the net and attack the net. And it works. Two quick goals in less than 2 minutes for the Lightning. And sometimes that's all it takes. And if it wasn't for maybe the best scoring defenseman in the league right now in Zach Werenski, that would have been all the Lightning needed. But Werenski scored at the end of the first period. And again, a hot start in the second, a minute 30 in. Jake Guentzel with his first of two. He also put in the empty net late in the contest. But it's just the Lightning answering whatever the Blue Jackets throw at them. And Blue Jackets are certainly no slouch. It does seem like that first win was somewhat of a fluke, an overtime loss in Columbus. 7-6 ended up being that final score. Since then, the Lightning have won the last two games against the Columbus Blue Jackets, and in large part due to the fact that they got off to a strong start. The goalie battle was something that you frankly expect the Lightning to win, especially with this many shots going on net. Vasilevsky is a goalie who, frankly, I think feels a little bit more comfortable the more shots that are coming at him. And facing as many as he did today, 32 shots with just two getting in the net. Pretty impressive for Andrei Vasilevsky and the Bolts. And another impressive part of this game is just the Lightning getting some of their points from different sources. I mean, you still have that top defensive line, but the first goal getting Lilleberg and Radish involved, and Radish was involved in another goal on the night as well, with two secondary assists for Darren. It was still mostly a first-line dominated goal-scoring game for the Lightning. But Mitchell Chaffee getting the first goal, I think, really helped take some of the pressure off. I think it can help add to the momentum when some of the Lightning's bottom six forwards get in on the action, and the whole crux of the offensive attack isn't just based on that top line of Guentzel, Point, and Kucherov scoring. Are they going to do that more often than not? Yes. All of them found the back of the score sheet in one way or another, as Jake Guentzel had two goals. Nikita Kucherov had a goal and two assists, and Braden Point added in an assist as well. That came on the power play in Victor Hedman's goal. But, I mean, this was a game where offensively, at the very least, the Lightning just did everything right. Just a truly dominant offensive performance, getting off to a hot start and just keeping it up over the entire game. I mean, this is a solid Blue Jackets team. Another team like the Lightning that a lot of his success is based on the team's offensive talent. So certainly not an easy team to beat, a team that is fighting for a playoff spot and still in technically at this point, but there is a lot of pressure around Columbus. They are in the thick of the playoff race, not separated by much between them and the fifth place team in the Metropolitan Division. And the Lightning just keep getting themselves more comfortable in the playoff race. They have a good record against their division as of late, and they haven't lost in regulation to a Metropolitan Division opponent in 2025. The last one came the day before Thanksgiving in the Charlie Lindgren game when he scored the own goal for the Washington Capitals. The Caps, though, ended up winning that game 5-4. And it's still Eastern Conference opponents. You know, obviously your division is the team that you want to be the most successful against, but scoring up 6 goals against an Eastern Conference playoff team is always a good thing. And the Lightning, I think, did a good job of spreading the puck around. And, you might want to see more goal scorers for the Lightning. But, Victor Hedman getting 2 goals is always something good to see. 50 points on the season, his 14th multi-goal game of his career, and now has the 3rd most 3-point games by a defenseman born outside of North America. Also has the 4th most 10-goal seasons by a defenseman born outside of North America with his 10th career 10-goal season. So Victor Hedman continuing to shine on the offensive side for the Lightning. And, I mean, it just, I think, continues to show why he has been just the perfect captain. He is not only a guy that is going to be a dependable force on that back line, but he is someone that can easily transition defense into offense for the Lightning and can get himself open for a shot every now and again. And I think the way that he plays works so well with the Lightning system. And I think part of that is because it has been kind of implemented based on his leadership, because even when Stamkos was the captain, Hedman was certainly the leader of the Lightning's defense. And him in the leadership role has brought out, I think, the absolute best in Victor Hedman. He's enjoying a great season for the Lightning, and he has been such a big part of their both defensive and offensive success, as the Bolts are one of the top scoring teams in the entire NHL. And another big night for Hedman, who has the 20th most points by a defenseman in NHL history now, passing Rob Blake with his 3-point first star night. Hedman continuing to show why the Lightning made the right choice to put him as captain. And you also have to give it up for Jonas Johansson. His 7th win of the season, just been a really solid backup goalie for the Lightning. Even Andrei Vasilevsky needs to take a game off, and this was his 1st or 2nd day off at home. He usually plays the home games over at Amalie Arena, but on the end of a back-to-back, Lightning decided to put Johansson in there, and he got 30 saves. And, he has made a lot of tough stops as Vasilevsky's backup, and you got to give him credit for being as dependable of a backup goalie as there is in the entire NHL. And honestly, that's such an underrated security to have as an NHL team. I mean, you look at the Blue Jackets today, their starting goalie letting up 6 goals, and that's something that Vasilevsky has barely done all season. And Johansson might have had a couple of games where a few more goals have gone in than maybe would have against Vasilevsky, but you just have to give him a lot of credit for just kind of keeping the ship steering straight when he has been put into action for the Lightning. And he put up another good game and helped the Bolts come away with a home win in a rare home start for Jonas Johansson, someone who has not been a starting goalie for the most part in his NHL career, and now is really solidifying himself as a solid backup goalie. And it's just a nice luxury for the Lightning to have as the season rolls on and the Lightning continue their offensive success. And a lot of that offensive success has to do with Nikita Kucherov, who is now 1 point behind the leaders, Leon Draisaitl and Nathan MacKinnon. Kucherov, the third player in the NHL this season, to 90 points. It seems inevitable that he'll get 100, but will he win back-to-back Art Ross trophies for the first time in his NHL career? When the game tips off, NBA action is just getting started, and there is no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether I'm backing my team for a late game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch three, I never feel like I missed my chance. Plus, the FanDuel app is easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Again, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more exciting with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And we're going to talk about the Art Ross Trophy once again. The most recent winner of the Art Ross, a member of the Tampa Bay Lightning, Nikita Kucherov. And he has been the guy to thwart a lot of Connor McDavid's repetition of this Art Ross Trophy. Connor McDavid repeated in 2017 and 2018. Nikita Kucherov won in 2019. And since then, it's been an Edmonton Oiler, with Leon Draisaitl winning in 2020, Connor McDavid winning the 3 seasons between 2021 and 23, and Nikita Kucherov getting the victory yesteryear, I should say, in the Art Ross Trophy race. Now, it is a race that has mostly been dominated by Nathan MacKinnon. A little bit of Leon Draisaitl being currently the only player with over 40 goals in the NHL season. Now, I think Draisaitl is going to win the Rocket Richard Trophy. Certainly a couple Lightning players that can contend there and make it a little bit tougher for Draisaitl, but I think the Rocket Richard Trophy still might end up being his. The Art Ross Trophy, I think, is completely up for grabs right now between Kucherov and Draisaitl and MacKinnon. I do think, though, MacKinnon and Kucherov have the inside edge, just being really the leading offensive producers, the guys that the offense really goes through on their team. I think Draisaitl is enjoying a bigger season because Connor McDavid missed so much of it at the beginning of the year, and it allowed Draisaitl to take on a bigger role. And because he played so well at the start of the year, he's just played himself into the lineup a little bit more. And McDavid is obviously back and thriving, but you can't ignore the production that Draisaitl has, especially if the Oilers, who have been building to try and win that Stanley Cup once again, are trying to get so close to that. And Nikita Kucherov has been hot on their heels all season. Hasn't been out front of the Art Ross race for some time, but he's a guy who I think is always going to be in the thick of it. You know, the Lightning offense just runs through him. His passing is just so smooth, and his stick handling. I mean, the goal that he had against Columbus, you know, wide open ice, perfect pirouette capturing the puck. I mean, the kind of stick handling he has and the way that he controls the puck. I mean, he can do things stick handling wise that I just haven't seen before. And it translates to his passing and to his goal scoring. I mean, he makes a quick pass, you know, those slap passes that he makes as well, whatever it is, and you just wonder, wait, how did that work? Like, how did that happen? And that's just kind of regular for Nikita Kucherov. His passing ability, not just with a little bit of trickery, but also just, I mean, the right passes. He had a goal a couple games ago, or an assist, where it was Kucherov just below the center of the ice in his team's defensive zone. Didn't put a lot on the pass. And it was just one of those that just kind of kept gaining momentum. And by the time it stopped, it had landed perfectly on the stick of Jake Guentzel in stride going towards the net. Those are the kind of things that Nikita Kucherov does on a regular basis. Like, he can just kind of see things happen before anybody else. And I think Nathan MacKinnon might be the only one who can rival that ability with his vision on the ice. And I think with those two guys are going to be at the forefront of the race for the rest of the season, as they have been for the most of the season. And I think Draisaitl is still going to keep pace, but there just is going to be a point where Connor McDavid is going to go on some big run. And I think, there are times where he just takes over, and that can limit the impact that Draisaitl has on the Oilers' offense at times. It doesn't take him out of the game completely. Obviously, they're on separate lines, and when that second line is in, Draisaitl goes to work. But, eventually it's just going to be more and more time for McDavid's line, less and less time for Draisaitl's line. And I think that could kind of lose some valuable minutes for Draisaitl if he tries to keep pace with MacKinnon and Kucherov. But I think the Mikko Rantanen trade was a big reason that Nikita Kucherov, in my opinion, is the favorite from here on out to retake that Art Ross trophy, because you're taking away another goal-scoring option from Nathan MacKinnon. And I think the Hurricanes gave the Avs some good return for that, and it certainly hasn't slowed down McKinnon's production by any means. But I just don't know if there's enough, if Necas can provide the same kind of scoring punch that Rantanen had, if their chemistry can be at the same level that it was for the entirety of the season, where Kucherov, he might add another offensive player, but, the core of the Lightning offense is going to remain intact, has been intact for this entire season. That hasn't changed. And it's just given Kucherov more time to gel with his offense and develop more chemistry as the season goes on. And I think just the familiarity, the increased, slightly or not, the increased familiarity that Kucherov has with his teammates as compared to Nathan MacKinnon now after the Avs trade. And they just made another move, swapping defensemen with the Rangers. I mean, you don't know how much more the Avs have in them trade-wise. And the Lightning haven't made any big moves just yet, just a couple of prospect swaps. But right now, nothing has affected the Lightning's players. And for the most part, it's been the same team on the ice yesterday that has been taking the ice game in, game out for the Lightning all season long. And I think that familiarity with Kucherov and his teammates, that great team chemistry that they have, is going to be a huge advantage. And I think in the home stretch of the season where, a lot of things kind of just go out the window and you just have to knuckle up and go back to basics, like the Lightning have kind of been doing lately. And they're really hitting their stride. Kucherov has been spurring that. Point has been spurring that with points in all but one of his last about 10 games. Hagel has been a big part in that as well. I mean, the Lightning have just a lot of really solid players on their top six lines, and Nikita Kucherov plays more than any other offensive player. And the Lightning just try and use him as much as they can, because he's one of the best offensive players in the league, and he is the gasoline that makes their engine go. And I think they're going to be relying on him more and more at the end of the season. The Lightning just trying to close down this playoff spot, stay hot, and to do that, you got to feed the hot hand, and that is always Nikita Kucherov. Doesn't matter that Braden Point is the scoring leader. Doesn't matter that Brandon Hagel is in the middle of his best season as an NHL player. Nikita Kucherov is still what makes that offense go, and he is going to be the key for that Lightning offense for the rest of the season. And I think that his involvement in the Lightning offense, the fact that he just always seemed to have the puck when the Lightning are in their offensive zone, I think it could be a factor that helps him win the Art Ross Trophy for the second consecutive season. And for Nikita Kucherov, it will hopefully be the third Art Ross Trophy win in his illustrious career. We started talking a little bit about some of the trades that have been made in the past. Now we'll talk about some trades that might be made in the future. Unless the Lightning do make a deadline deal, this will be the last deadline discussion we have on Locked On Lightning. And the trade deadline is imminent, March the 7th. That is this Friday. So 2 more days till deadline day for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And we will take a look. Now, something that I have thought of recently before we go into the targets that really I don't think have changed that much for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Alex Tuch is still their primary target. And there have been a couple other names rumored for the Lightning, but Tuch is certainly the one that has been the biggest rumor. I think the Alex Tuch potential of an Alex Tuch trade is, maybe one of the biggest things to watch as this deadline nears. But one recent trade kind of had me thinking. The Panthers, like the Lightning, were at the beginning of the season a team blessed with a very much of a fixture in the net. Sergei Bobrovsky for the Panthers, Andrei Vasilevsky for the Bolts, and a solid backup goalie, Spencer Knight for the Panthers, now the Blackhawks, Jonas Johansson for the Bolts. Obviously, Spencer Knight was dealt away for Seth Jones. Panthers needed a D-man, so they gave up their backup goalie to do it. Jonas Johansson has been solid, 7-5-1 in the 13 chances he's had this season to replace Andrei Vasilevsky as the starter, including a 30-save game last night against Columbus. Would he be a guy that the Lightning could potentially deal in the trade deadline? Do you think maybe the Sabres would take him for an Alex Tuch or a John Jason Peterka? These are, I think, questions that the Lightning have to ask. And I think it's good, the goalie system they have right now with Vasi and Johansson, 2 guys who have been there for a while. You might not want to rock the boat, but I think the Lightning do have some goalie help ready in the AHL if that's a trigger that they have to pull. Brandon Halverson was an AHL All-Star for the Crunch, and both Halverson and Matt Tompkins have already filled in the NHL level on a couple of occasions. So these are 2 guys with some NHL experience. Again, not as much as Johansson, but I think enough that if a team needs a goalie, even if it's just a temporary one, Johansson could be a guy that the Lightning decide to trade. And I think that he is certainly not a player that has been rumored too much in a lot of trade rumors. Honestly, the rumors that I have seen have really all been about potential players coming to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Again, that primarily circles around Alex Tuch of the Sabres, Brock Boeser of the Canucks. Ivan Provorov had been a rumored name. Trevor Zegras has been rumored to be likely on the move. And there's still a couple other guys that could be on there, but I think for the most part, the Lightning have been rumored to be looking for forwards, which to me makes a lot of sense. I think defensively, they're pretty solid. As I've said many times before, I think any answer to the Lightning's future defenseman might already be in Syracuse. They already have a couple of AHL players who have played up in the NHL. 3 Lightning defensemen have come from the AHL this season: Steven Santini, Declan Carlisle. and Max Crozier were all AHL players before they debuted with the Lightning this season. So I think defensively, the Lightning are pretty solid. Obviously, goalies, they have the best in the world. And I was just talking about them potentially trading their backup. So that isn't something that they'll be looking for. I think defense is certainly a possibility of a trade to make for the Lightning. But I think with the fact that, around 90% of their goals this season have come from their top six forwards. I mean, particularly Hagel, Sorelli, and that entire first line of Point, Kucherov, and Gensel. That has been the majority of the Lightning's goal-scoring talent. And I think despite the fact that the Lightning have consistently been one of, if not the best offensive team in the NHL this season, it's no secret that the majority of their scoring, the majority of their offense is coming from that first line, is coming from that second line. And the Lightning definitely need more forward depth if they're going to have a legitimate chance to contend in the playoff race. And I don't think they need to make as drastic of a move as what Florida did with Chicago, giving up Knight in a first-round pick for Seth Jones and a fourth-round pick. But I do still think there are some guys to trade, and there might be some players in the minors that could be on the move. I think one player that the Lightning would not want to trade is Isaac Howard. Just a guy getting a whole lot of hype, and someone who has even caught Julian Brisebois' attention, who's been watching some Michigan State games for the Lightning's top prospect this season. And he's someone that the Lightning, I think, have a lot of faith in as an attacker of the future. So I would be surprised if the Lightning gave him up. I think the Lightning are still in a solid position to contend. Again, I think they need another bottom six forward or two. I think they could definitely use some more depth on that forward side, but I also don't think that the Lightning should be shopping all their top prospects out of desperation to try and get another offensive piece. I think the Lightning, especially right now, are on fire. It doesn't seem like the Lightning need to change anything the way that they've been playing lately. There have been few NHL teams that have matched the recent run of the Tampa Bay Lightning. But again, I think they do need some more forward depth to give them a better chance at hoisting that Stanley Cup this coming June. So I think that they're going to have to part ways with some prospects. I think you'd want to see some guys from the Solar Bears maybe go. I think Jaden Dureau is a player that could be considered. That he's been up and down between Orlando and Syracuse this year. Maybe not progressing as much as the team likes. I mean, there's plenty of options to give, but I definitely think the Lightning do need another forward. I think Alex Tuch, who has been one of the biggest names associated with the Lightning in terms of these trade rumors, I think he would be a great fit. He's frequently been called a fan favorite in Buffalo and is enjoying a really great season at plus 14 for the second time in his Sabres career with 23 goals and 24 assists in 59 games. And I mean, you don't get to be a fan favorite without being kind of, a solid all-around player like Tuch is, and also, just a grinder. And putting him, as Tuch is a right wing, he would be, I think, a perfect fit for that Lightning second line because he's got that speed. He's got a little bit extra size that could really help on the line of Hagel and Sorelli's, and just adds another kind of pest to the game. Just a guy that you don't want to be going up against. Just relentless attacking and relentless play on defense as well is already what you can expect from that Lightning second line. And I think that would just be absolute chaos if Alex Tuch was to join that one. And I think the Lightning would be seeing something similar if Brock Boeser, another rumored trade piece from the Vancouver Canucks, I think that would be another good addition for the Lightning. I think that right wing position is where they need the most help. Bozer hasn't put up the same kind of numbers that Alex Tuch has. He doesn't play as much for Vancouver. So that could mean he's easier to pry away from the Canucks, as he was a first-round pick of Vancouver 10 years ago back in 2015. But I think those are the type of players that I'd like to see the Lightning target. I'd like to see the Lightning end up with before this trade deadline, because I really think they need a little bit of extra help, and it could be in one of these forwards. I think Alex Tuch seems to be the best choice, but plenty of options if the Lightning are looking for forwards. Guys like Tuch, guys like Bozer, maybe Trevor Zegras, who's been rumored to be on the move. I mean, you just don't know. But I definitely think the Lightning could be in the market for a trade piece in the coming days, and we'll keep an eye on that before we send you home for the day. I'm Josh Sperber. Once again, thanking all of you for making Locked On Lightning your first listen today. Now, for your second listen, make sure to check out the Locked On NHL podcast, bringing you the daily league-wide stories that matter with the local coverage you love from Locked On. Find NHL podcasts, including Locked On NHL, on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And make sure to give us a like, a follow, a subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thank you again for your support, and go Bolts. Have a great day, everyone.